Welcome to this edition of News Brief, and have I got news for you. There's now an unleaded avgas approved for all general aviation aircraft. The FAA has just approved GAMI's STC for the entire piston fleet.
It's a really big deal to have this STC because it gets a lot of optimism that we will have at least one fuel and hopefully more that are available to switch out of low lead into a no lead formula in a safe, practical, and an economic way. This is a big deal.
A G100UL is fully compatible with all airframes and fuel distribution systems, and it can be mixed with 100 low lead without any problems.
It is a complete functional drop-in replacement for 100 low lead on every airplane and aircraft in the fleet. A DC-6 that's owned by Everett's Air in Alaska that is so crucial to the infrastructure of the Native Americans in Alaska. It's on the list with its engines. Some of the most powerful, World War II era engines out there. They're included on this AML list, and all the other engines besides those.
AML means Approved Model List, and Brawley says every avgas-fueled aircraft is on it, and if there isn't an airplane that isn't on it, well, it's a simple matter to add it. So here's the tricky part. What's this new unleaded fuel going to cost?
Look, small volume batches cost a lot of money, and until we can get it wrapped up so that we're making millions of gallons at a time, there's going to be an incremental additional cost that's due to what I'm going to call the small volume penalty. But in volume production, when we sit there and just take a spreadsheet and look at the per gallon costs of the components that go into the fuel and figure the reasonable charges for handling and processing, in the past when we've done that, the additional premium for this fuel has ended up somewhere between 55 and 90 cents a gallon more.
So when are you going to see this unleaded fuel at your airport? Well, it's going to be some time yet.
We have been in detailed negotiations with one of the major refiners, one of the largest ones, about producing this fuel. They're on board with doing this, but they're very candid. They've got to get a rather large budget commitment to start changing pipes and fittings and valves and plumbing to produce this stuff, and they can't do that till the FAA had signed the STCs. Well, now we've got that done, and they're going to be able to go to work. There are others that are now interested in doing this. We expect the phone to probably start to ring a little louder than it has in the past and more frequently.
Brawley expects the fuel to become available at some airports, many in California, by actually this time next year. And meanwhile, Swift Fuel says that its unleaded 100-octane fuel will probably be approved late this year or early next year.
It's taken a lot of effort, and there's been a lot of good effort by a lot of people. I do want to say one more time that Mark Baker has been instrumental in making sure that everybody, quit wringing their hands and started focusing on real issues.
And good news for GA in the U.S., but something bad on the horizon for GA in Europe. The French transport minister is calling for regulations on private jets to reduce their carbon footprint. And it's not just for France. He's proposing that the entire European Union take measures like higher taxes on business jet ops or even banning private flights to places well served by trains. The minister says that people shouldn't be able to take private jets just for their own comfort when ordinary folks are being asked to make sacrifices to combat climate change. Now, I'd like to tell you about quite an accomplished family in aviation. It's the Rutherford family, particularly siblings Zara and Mac. 17-year-old Mac has become the youngest person to fly solo around the world, and his sister Zara currently holds the record as the youngest female to circumnavigate the world solo, and she did it at age 19.
Also with this journey, I'm trying to show that young people can make a difference. You don't have to be 18 to do something special. Just follow your dreams and they'll eventually come true. And just work hard, and you can follow your dreams.
Mac flew a specially outfitted Shark, that's a speedy European ultralight, and it took him 141 days, starting from and returning to Sofia, Bulgaria. My goodness, can you imagine the dinner table talk at that family's house? Well, flying around the world takes a lot of training, but just doing any kind of flying as a pilot takes a lot of training to be safe, and we'd like to hear about your flight training experience. The AOPA Flight Training Experience Survey is now open. We want your feedback on the different aspects of your training. Tell us about the educational quality, customer focus, community, and information sharing. We'll use that information to recognize and present our Flight Training Experience Awards to the best flight schools and CFIs in the nation. Plus, we're also going to give the feedback to schools and instructors so that they can improve. Now, what's in it for you besides better training down the road, hopefully? Well, some prizes and a discount from the AOPA Pilot Gear store. The online survey is open through the end of October, so please take a moment to take it. Well, if you're looking for a challenging flying experience, try the busy airspace in Southern California. It's among the most complex airspace in the country, but that shouldn't scare you from flying VFR in the area, as long as you're prepared. This week, content producer Alicia Heron takes us on a flight right over LAX in a Cessna 172 using LA Special Flight Rules.
This is such a fun flight. I love doing LA Special Flight Rules because it does feel like this really special thing that we as general aviation pilots get to do, and this really amazing trust that we're given as GA pilots to fly over one of the busiest airports in the world, not talking to anybody, and just making sure that we check the boxes.
Well, Alicia and her friend Juliet Simpkins took the flight so they could go from Torrance to Santa Barbara for a seafood lunch. You know, I got to fly the corridor at night once with pilot getaways, and it was such an amazing experience. LAX with its maze of lights was the darkest part of LA. Now, to watch the full video of Alicia's flight, click the link in the upper corner. And be sure to watch out for other aircraft. Sadly, we've recently had several mid-air collisions in the news, and now mid-airs are rare, just about 10 a year, but we really want that to be 0. And towards that goal, the AOPA Air Safety Institute has an online safety spotlight on collision avoidance.
Knowing how, when, and where to look for traffic, and understanding the limits of your ability to spot it can significantly reduce your risk of a collision.
The Collision Avoidance Spotlight is on our website, and the link is down below in the description for you. Well, here's a safety advance for the Civil Air Patrol. They've partnered with SiriusXM to put a satellite-transmitted weather info into every CAP cockpit. CAP pilots will get frequent updates on high-resolution composite radar, METARs, and TAFs. Now, ADSB doesn't provide the same services. Another advantage for CA pilots who often fly low and in remote areas on their search and rescue missions. SiriusXM's satellite weather can be picked up just about anywhere, whereas ADSB uses ground transmitters that don't give you that kind of coverage. SiriusXM is an AOPA strategic partner. Well, it was almost a record, but the Airbus Zephyr high-altitude drone crashed just a few hours short of the world record for flight endurance. The record was set some 63 years ago by two guys in a Cessna 172. They flew around Las Vegas for more than 64 days, refueling from a truck racing along below them. Now, the Airbus Zephyr is a solar-powered drone designed to fly for months at a time, up to 70,000 feet. The Army is flying the drone to get data on the endurance efficiency and station-keeping abilities of high-altitude UAS platforms. There hasn't been any word yet on why the drone flight ended unexpectedly. Now, how about a caravan that flies itself? Well, Reliable Robotics says the FAA has accepted its proposal on how to certify its STC for an autopilot that, get this, can fly a Cessna 208 Caravan from taxi through takeoff and landing and even the rollout. The company hopes to reduce the occurrences of controlled flight in terrain and loss of control accidents with their advanced automation system. Even so, a human pilot will remain on board just to keep an eye on George. Well, what's better than hanging out at the airport with your friends? Getting to watch a STOL demo while you do it. At the AOPA Hangout at Phelps Field in Spokane, Washington, you'll get to do just that. AOPA has gathered some of the best pilots in the country to come show off their stuff and to visit with you about how to get started in STOL flying. Get a great view of this skillful use of an airplane at a family-friendly event. The Hangout is going to be so much fun. We really hope to see you there. And you can combine your fun with some aviation learning. The AOPA Spokane Hangout includes a full slate of seminars from backcountry flying to getting more out-of-flight service. You can find out more at the link in the description. Well, during our reporting on that other fly-in, you know, the big one in Oshkosh, we told you about the 1 week wonder. It began as a kit on the first day of AirVenture and taxied out on the last day of the show. More than 2,000 folks stopped by to build the Sonex YXB. Well, now the 1 week wonder has flown from Whitman Regional Airport. It was the first of many flights to complete the certification process. This YX is unique because it's the first to incorporate a factory-designed Rotax 912 IS engine installation. Now, EAA plans to fly the aircraft to events around the country, so keep your eyes out for it. Alaska is one of the most beautiful and challenging places to fly in the country. Many areas are only accessible via airplane, so commercial and private general aviation are essential. Misty Fjords Air is one of many commercial operators in the region. They do flight seeing and passenger and cargo flights. Well, the de Havilland Turbine Otter is the workforce of their fleet. So what's it like to fly one of these on floats? AOPA's Dave Hirschman flew with their chief pilot to find out.
Water rudders are up. Flow check is complete. Trims are set. We're going to go to high idle. We're going to push our torque up to 58.6. 2,200 RPM is what we're looking for. That's going to give us 750 horse. I'm going to let the plane roll up on the step. And there it is. Airspeed's alive. Quick cross check. And we're in the air. We're going to pull it back to 52,000. And the only thing holding us back at this point is flaps. So flaps will come up. Most de Havillands, you're going to leave some flaps down when you're climbing, but Otter basically climbs just fine without flaps.
Well, you can find the rest of the flight on our YouTube channel. And that's News Brief for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. We'd love for you to be an AOPA pilot if you aren't already. You can join us and the hundreds of thousands of other pilots who love and support general aviation. The button is on the screen at the end of this video. We'll see you next week.